Welcome to Threads of Sustainability, where you get to hear the passionate, informative, and engaging conversations of creatives, makers, manufacturers, and producers from all over the globe. We explore what sustainability can look like in the quilting, fiber, and textile world, and I'm your host, Bridget O'Flaherty, also known as the Sustainable Quilter. Welcome to another episode of Threads of Sustainability. I'm Bridget, your host, and we're coming up to, well, I don't know if it's the end of winter. It's still feeling pretty deep in the snow from where I sit. We're up here in Perth, Ontario, and it's March, and starting to think about summer projects and starting to think about workshops that I'm wanting to do and quilting and sharing. I've also started recently doing an outreach project in our local community where I am helping people learn how to start quilting. And it's been really exciting. It's been so much fun. We've had like 25 people come out each week who want to learn how to do hand piecing and want to learn about the traditions of quilting. And it's so great when it starts up. Everybody walks in and starts sharing immediately with each other the blocks that they worked on over the week and how far they've gotten along. And there's so much encouragement and so much sharing. And it's this beautiful little gathering of people who didn't know each other before we started this. And it just feels like a really good step towards just creating a community in quilting. And not that that doesn't happen regularly. Quilters are pretty keen to do this, but it's fun to be a part of something new that's starting up. Anyway, that's some of the stuff that I'm working on. Today's episode is about Sonya Oblak, and she's a thrifty quilter, and it was really interesting talking with her. What I really liked about the stuff we talked about, we're really starting to talk about some of the meat and potatoes, I guess, as it were, like the actual, how do you be a thrifty quilter? How do you upcycle? What can you do to start with doing projects? And Sonya kind of walks us through a lot of her process and shares with us some really great tips and ideas for how to start quilting with thrifting and projects that you can work on, easy projects, accessible projects. So really cool conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Threads of Sustainability. I have with me Sonya Oblak. It's Oblak, right?
Yes.
Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay. Yeah. And you are way up north in Canada, and you are I don't know, how do you describe yourself? What I think of you as a thrifty quilter, but maybe you have a different way of describing yourself. How do you describe what you do?
Yeah, I would say that I am an improv quilter that uses primarily thrifted material,
Okay.
or free material, or material that people give me or I find at the free store. But yeah, I consider myself an improv quilter because I never really know when I start a quilt what it's going to end up.
So you don't work with patterns at all? You just start playing with what you've got?
Yeah, pretty much. I pretty much go with starting with the fabric. Okay. And then trying to figure out or sometimes I think of a block or something that I want to experiment with and then go that way as well.
And so do you have all your fabric ready to go when you're doing your project, or do you add as you're going along as well?
No, I add. I only use what's in my studio. I have a lot. I can't just go out. I'm in the bush. So, well, not really in the bush, but pretty much far away from a quilt store. So I just use whatever I have.
So tell me about that. Where do you live? I know you're in Northern Canada, but where are you?
We live at Spirit Lake, which is about 45 minutes from Whitehorse, which is the capital of the Yukon.
Okay. So yeah. I know this is a crazy question, but what's the weather like right now?
It is the most beautiful. It's probably about -4, beautiful sunshine,
nice.
A little bit of breeze. Oh, we've had it, global warming is here.
Yeah. So this is this is the beginning of February, and you're having very warm day for that area.
And we've had like right at the beginning of January, we had minus 35. But
Okay.
after that, it's been, -5 to -15, which is totally
Totally
bizarre.
reasonable temperatures. I think we've
Yeah.
had deeper freezes here in Ottawa
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, for sure.
Although today was amazing. We had a +7 day today with sunshine. So that was pretty
Yeah.
nice. Um, but you haven't always been up there. Where did you start your quilting journey? Where did you start quilting?
In Abbotsford. My husband and I are both raised in the Yukon. My husband was born and I was raised in the Yukon. But we lived in Abbotsford for 25 years, among other places, but that's where we came from. We came back to retire here.
Okay.
To our cottage, like our property here.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so, like, do you guys have a lot of land up there?
We're on 4 acres, right on a lake.
That's enough.
Yeah. And the property's been in my husband's family for 50 years.
Nice.
And we have a cabin, and we built our house 5 years ago.
And so you have your own special studio in that space, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah, that was one of the things. My husband, my husband has his shop, and I have my studio, and we're at separate far ends of the.
Okay. And so, what were some of the must-haves for you when you were designing what your studio is going to look like?
As I'm looking around, windows. I face south and west, so I get sun all day.
Nice.
Yeah, and a nice floor that I can sweep up or
no carpet.
Swiffer. Yeah, and a good, like, I face south, so I've got a view, and I just can.
Do you have a big design wall
if I need to? What's that?
You have a big design wall that you get to play on?
Yes, right behind me you can see.
Oh, yeah,
so we did a whole wall of shelving, and then in front of it we've got doors.
Okay.
That slide. Okay. So I've got 4 doors worth of design wall and 2 on the outside, so they slide back and forth, so I can have.
Wow.
Yeah.
A nice big
so
wide
it's pretty
space.
Amazing.
That is amazing. And that's, of course, where you store all your fabric. Tell us about some of your favorite fabrics that you have in there. Like how do you organize your fabric and keep straight what's in there? What do you do?
I have collections of fabrics. So I was thinking about this. I started collecting linen, like clothing, and take it apart and make it usable in 2008.
So I have a question for you about that. So you deconstruct your clothing, and do you keep all the parts? Like, do you keep the wristbands, the collars, all the bits?
Yes. All the bits.
All the bits. And then you use those randomly, maybe in quilts?
Yeah, I've made a few things with collars and cuffs. I made one quilt with that and jean material because it has the interfacing in it. It's about the same thickness as denim. Yeah. So I've made that. I've made some bath mats with
cool.
that because they're really comfy.
What do your bath mats look like? Are they pieced, or what? Like, are you doing braided, or what are you doing with them?
No, I just pieced the collars and together, cool. And then I put a terry cloth, like an old towel, on the back. Right, and that's it.
Amazing. Yeah, that's totally
super
cool.
Yeah, super easy to wash, and yeah.
That's awesome. And okay, so what are some of the other collections you have? You have linens?
I have Hawaiian bark cloth. I've got a lot of that.
What's that?
It's, if you've seen those bright Hawaiian dresses, it's kind of like a bark cloth is got a texture to it. It's cotton. Okay. It's 100% cotton.
Is it like waxed or?
No, it's just the way. I don't even understand how it's made. But
to look into that one.
Yeah. It makes really nice quilts because it's kind of got a bumpy but soft texture.
Okay, so it's got body to it.
Yeah. And then I've got some wool. What else do I have? Indigo, some Japanese indigo. Nice. Some I need to do something with that.
Nice.
And Indonesian batiks, like from clothing.
That's super cool. And so I'm always curious about this because I go into thrift stores and when I go looking for fabric, I go to the linen section and I look for tablecloths and sheets and I'll look for cotton and linen materials, but I've never really gone into the clothing section. Do you go and thrift in the clothing section? What do you look for?
Yes.
How do you decide what you're looking for?
Well, after many years, it's pretty easy, but you start at the extra large, like
Okay, because you get the
usually
most fabric. Yeah.
men's extra large shirts,
Okay.
dress shirts. Yeah, so that's where you kind of start and you go through the store. Like every department in a thrift store kind of has textiles.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I go into the apron, like they always have a drawer for
Oh,
aprons and
yeah.
tea towels and even kids' clothing sometimes. I don't often do that, but every once in
I
a
found a
while.
really nice I got some polar fleece from a thrift store and it was one of those Harry Potter Quidditch capes, like the robes basically. And I bought that for $5 and I've been cutting up the polar fleece. So tell me about some of the like what are some of the treasures you found when you go thrifting looking for stuff for your quilts?
Oh, I think my favorite was the Tommy Hilfiger duvet cover, which was jean material. It was
Ooh,
like a king size duvet cover, one side jean, one side cotton for $15. And now
wow.
that backing is on my bed with
Nice.
my linen pineapple quilt that I made, pineapple block quilt, which way too much work. But it's
Did you do that with paper piecing or did you
no,
do that improv
no, and
again?
it's all wonky because that's
That's so
way
good.
too much work. I've always
Yeah,
wanted to make one, and I did, and that's enough. Never again.
that's awesome. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a pineapple quilt. I have this idea of doing a log cabin, but I kind of struggle with having to do the structure, right? Like having to do this repetitive block that I don't know, that isn't necessarily very inspiring. And I've been talking with a friend recently, my friend Dee, and she talks about doing improv log cabins where you just kind of lay down whatever you want and work your way around the circle, around the square from the middle. I'm like, oh, maybe that'd be better. Maybe I
Oh
should do
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's easy,
Yeah.
super easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
I'm
that's
fi-
something I'll embark on.
Those are fun because you just cut strips and you just keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about some of the work. Like, do you teach classes every once in a while or no?
No, I've never taught a class.
Not touch.
No.
Okay. So you just do your work because you love doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I could. Yeah. I was thinking about that too, about what makes me do it. And it's kind of like exercise. You find something that you like to do and you keep doing it. And that's what quilting is to me. And I love to do lots of exercise, like different kinds of exercise. And I like to do lots of different kinds of quilting too, like, mini quilts and little art quilts and
So what do you
yeah,
do? What do you do in your mini quilts? What kind of quilts do you do? What kind of do you do blocks or do you do more modern stuff? What do you do?
probably more modern stuff.
And do you do
Um,
long arm quilting as well?
I have a long arm. It's
Yeah.
behind me, but it's a basic, like it has no speed control or
Right.
needle down. So it's like you
Okay.
just go across and you stop at the other end and then you go back and go across. So it's very rudimentary. And I
Yeah.
usually just use that for quilts that I make for donation or,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, a lot of your quilts that I've been seeing on your social media, follow you on Instagram, they've all got kind of a story behind them. Can you talk about some of those, like some of the ones that might have a story for you?
You know, I don't think they have stories beforehand, but they
Okay.
develop stories as I'm going along. For example, the what I called my COVID quilt, which I started at the beginning of COVID, which was wool, and it was a paper piecing because people on Instagram were trying to get kind of a community going during COVID, and I
Yeah.
joined this one group, and they were doing English paper piecing. And so I did that, and I got the top done, and then it kind of went away because I couldn't figure out what I was going to do with it.
Right.
And then just in November, I finally said, okay, I got to try something. So I got it together, and then I got COVID.
Oh my God. So it really is a COVID quilt. It's totally a COVID quilt. I think lots of us have COVID projects that we've done.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of, when I'm working on something, sometimes an image or an idea or something or a saying comes into my head, and I just keep going with that saying while I'm working on a quilt.
Cool. You did one fairly recently that was inspired by scraps that you had. You just had things left over. The one with, like, it had a gold, I think it was, and it was sort of almost buildings, and or maybe it was black. It was black, and it was gray and white.
Oh, the ships.
Yeah,
that was my
not buildings at all.
That's what I call my well, it could be buildings. It's whatever you kind of
I saw buildings in it.
Thought it was. It's what I called my dessert after the main course. So after I'm done and I've got little bits of scraps left over, I like to just get a piece of fabric, put some batting down, and then put the extra bits on it and lay it out. And it's not thinking about anything. It's just putting the scraps down. And this just happened to be the white and the gray that I had left over from another quilt.
Kind of like reading tea leaves, right?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. It just I had this idea that gray and white, I could make like snowbanks or snow, and then it ended up looking like two ships in the mist or something. So
nice.
Whatever. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's just doing something.
Well, there's something really lovely about that kind of freedom in that play, right? Like that's really just letting your mind and creativity explore whatever it wants to. And that must be feeling, I don't get that feeling very often. I don't get to do that. I wish I did it more. And I think that it's a beneficial thing that we all should do, to play like that, right? I think it's got some real benefits for our own emotional well-being to just have permission to play.
Yeah. And I did last year, I had, it was funny. I went into this thrift store, and there were these two women talking about these books of samples.
Oh, like interior designers.
Yeah, interior design samples. Yeah. And there were two big books, and they were looking at them, and I was standing next to them, and they were going, well, what would you even do with this? Like, how could you even do anything with it? And then they put them away. And of course I just grabbed them. This was like gold to me. And
so much with
$5 each. So amazing. I brought them home, and they were kind of coordinated. So last year I came up with a thing where I was going to use all of it. And I made like a big quilt, and then I made some little wall hangings, and I made a pillow, and I just tried to use everything. So I like to challenge myself to use everything, including the scraps.
I think that's a really cool challenge. I think that's something that maybe I will put out when we publish this, is to have people show us their scrap challenge piece. Instead of going to the store and instead of cutting into your reams of fabric, go to your scrap pile and create something and show us what you got. Like, I'd be curious to see how many people are already doing that, for one thing. And then how many people would take up that challenge, because I think a lot of us discard these little triangles and little bits and forget about them, put them to the side and think, well, I'll use that on the next one. But then we never do. We always go to the new fabric because it's beautiful and it's nice to press it, and it's nice to deal with it. But yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting. I have a bucket of textiles that are left over from bits that so they're ends of cutoffs from quilts that I've worked on, or my thread from my long arm as I'm changing threads and cutting my threads, my starting threads. I have a bucket full of those with the idea that when I'm done, I am going to challenge myself to make something else out of that. I don't know what that's going to look like though.
Well, I've made thread paintings before. Well, I call them thread paintings.
But they're from actual clumps of thread rather than
yes,
right.
Yeah. And I collect, when I take something apart, I collect everything. So I do collect the thread as well. So I keep it kind of color coordinated so that you can makes great landscapes. Like you can, like the blues and the, garden like things like pink. And
so how do you store those kinds of things that you're saving for later use, like the threads and the collars?
Just put it in a little container or a little baggie, and I've got it's right here. So I'm looking at it. So it's just in a container and then put into a drawer.
And do you color coordinate them and then put them away? Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah, because I can't imagine it would just be like a pile of thread otherwise.
I used to do that until I started doing these things, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't do this anymore because I was separating the whole
as you were going,
mess.
right?
So if I'm taking apart a pink shirt, I'm just going to put the pink threads to the side, and then I put them in the pink bag. So I've got a bag of pink, and
Well, and so I have a question for you. How do you take apart a shirt and save the thread?
Well, it's only the stuff that
you're stitch ripping it, right?
I'm stitch ripping it. Well, some parts of it. Some I cut, and I keep all the seams to make rugs with. So if you're
okay.
Yeah, so I do that as well. So the seams that you cut, you've got that piece that's in the middle, so you're cutting on either side. So I keep that.
Okay. Like the top stitched area.
Yes.
And so you use those to make rugs, and are you braiding those rugs? Are you zigzagging? Like, how are you doing those rugs?
I crochet them.
You crochet them. Okay.
Yeah. So you
have your hands always busy? Are you always doing something?
Yes. I can't not be doing something with, I always have to have a hand project on the go.
Keep your mind
I can't
busy.
just watch TV anymore. I have to be doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. My mother was much like that. I actually am very good at kind of zoning out. And when I have to shut my brain off. Otherwise, I am thinking too much all the time and I go off on all kinds of other tangents. So I have to give myself the space when I'm watching a show. I'm not doing anything else. Otherwise, I never relax. So
right.
That's and I need to do that sometimes. But my mother was like that. She always had something in her hands. She was either knitting or embroidering or doing some kind of quilting or she always had something in her hands.
Yeah. And there are people like that absorb better when they're doodling right. Yeah. And I was like that in meetings when I worked, and I'd always be doodling, and it would, get people angry, but no, sometimes it helps you absorb things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think there's a lot of studies out there showing that those kind of fidgets things. And if you're doing something productive, then it's not really just fidgeting, but having that extra mind occupation. When my kids were little, in a school, they went to a local school that was an arts-based school, and the kids were allowed to either do Lego or play with Play-Doh while the teacher was doing teacher reading, so that they could answer the questions better about the story if they were allowed to do that. Yeah. So,
I don't know what it is. Because you're doing something that's mindless, I think, right? Like you're doing, and so it just helps. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's good for people to do that. I want to take just a minute here to, first of all, thank you for listening to the podcast Threads of Sustainability. I really appreciate having you here. And I hope that you're enjoying the episode so far. This is where I want to take a minute to put out this challenge. And I would love it if you would share on Instagram and tag both Sonya and I in your posts about the scrappy quilts that you're doing. And let's share what those scrap quilts can look like and let people know what they can do with their scraps. It'd be really exciting to see a whole bunch of scrap quilts out there. So you can tag us on Instagram, and Sonya is at sonya.oblak, and I am at the Sustainable Quilter. I'll also put those in the show notes so you can link to them if you want to. And let's get back to that conversation with Sonya. We've got more to talk about. You've kind of always had a sustainability ethos in your life. This isn't new for you. This isn't something you picked up over COVID to just start trying and doing. How long have you had sustainability of sorts in your life, and in what different ways? Like, it's not just in your quilt world. How has that come to be in your life?
Yeah, I'm not, I think just after, having kids, starting with not using disposable diapers, for example, right?
Right.
Like using cloth diapers and just no waste, I
And
guess.
you grew up
And
in the Yukon where things were a little different, right?
yeah, like you didn't have access to Amazon, so you just
Right.
used what you had here, right?
Right.
We ate basic food. We grew up on canned peas, and we didn't have much fresh stuff, and you didn't live high on the hog. You just lived. So yeah, and I stayed home with my kids, so we didn't have much money. And I would go to the thrift store, and that's where I got most of my clothing. And we, in Abbotsford, where this was, they have tons of thrift stores, the Mennonite Central Committee, the MCC there. Yeah. So yeah, that's just the way it was. And then when I started quilting, I I'd never been in a fabric store before. So this was
Right.
I figured it out. It's 25 years ago.
Okay, that's when
And
you started.
that's when I started. And I went to the fabric store when I wanted to make my first quilt, and I bought fabric. And then on the backing, I'm thinking, oh, I have to buy all that fabric for backing. No, I went to the thrift store and got a sheet and used that. And then the second quilt I made, I used pillowcases that I got at the thrift store, because I started looking at, okay, yeah, that's 100% cotton, and then I started doing that. So yeah, I've always, 25 years ago, I started doing it. So
Right. And what other areas of your life do you feel like I know we talked when you and I talked before, you were telling me a little bit about your house that you're living in now and some of the things that you do in your day-to-day living that would be considered sustainable now. And it's pretty much just how you live. But what are some of those things that you have built into the house that you're in now?
Well, when we built our house, we were lucky to get a builder who builds green or energy, what's the word, super energy efficient homes. That we went to school with this builder, and we ran into him a couple of summers before we started, and we designed our house. And he uses a specific type of building structure where the walls turn out to be like 14 inches.
Okay.
And the windows, we could have chosen, triple pane or quad windows. So we went with quad windows. It's not that much more money. So it's a super energy efficient thing. Like when we got tested for the leakage of the home, they didn't believe us that we could have done it. And we did. Like I was the one taping everything.
Nice. Yeah.
And the insulation, and there's no conductivity between the inside and the outside.
Yeah. So there's no thermal bridging. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just decided to go that route. We had a budget, and when we ran out of money, that was it. Like the door, we got to the outside was clad, and then my husband and I finished everything inside.
Nice. Yeah. So in my other world, in my other life, I'm an energy advisor. So I know all of the things that you're talking about, and I do air tests on houses. That's some of the work that I do. I have a blower door in my closet, and I go to houses and do air tests. So yeah, that's exciting to me to hear that you've done that and have that high performance house, especially in a climate where you guys are, where it's colder most of the time. usually,
Yeah.
except for this year and right now. But normally it's colder up there. So having the extra thermal, you're going to be saving on your heating systems and your heating bills as well. And
Yeah.
you guys decided also to go to electrification, right?
Yes, we were not off grid. But we do have solar panels. We did
Right.
that. But in the wintertime up here, that's
Not a
nothing.
lot of sun, right?
No, well, it's so low that it does nothing. So,
Right.
but right now, my husband just said today we made 4 kilowatts.
Nice.
So, yeah. So,
That's pretty
and we
decent.
didn't take trees down, so it's not the greatest,
Sure.
but that's more important to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we have a well and we have a septic field, and we're but we are connected to the grid.
Yeah.
And whatever we make extra on the solar goes back
Into
to the grid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys garden? Do you have, is gardening
I
a
got
thing
it.
for you?
Yeah. We built a greenhouse, and I used all the scraps from our
Nice.
building to make the greenhouse. So I've got little bits of insulation, and we use the metal siding and
Nice.
everything. So yeah, it's all everything goes into the compost, and I've got a worm bin, and so
Amazing.
there's very little garbage that we
So you create your own compost with the worms.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I'm going to come back to the materials and talk about the quilting again. I love that you're taking all of that into account, because it kind of shows that, I mean, we all start somewhere. You started a long time ago thinking about all of the things around sustainability. And one of the things that I run into with some people is they're kind of intimidated by how much I do in the world of sustainability, because I live off grid, and I do organic gardening, and I do all the things similar to you. And it's a lot for somebody who's never done any of that before. But I didn't start here. I started 30 years ago when I started building my house and making decisions along the way. And I think that it's important for people to realize that when you start making the decisions, it's not just about materials in the quilt world, in the hobby that you have. You start making decisions about sustainability in all parts of your life, because you start realizing that, oh, maybe I could do that differently, because you can do it differently in your hobby, right? And I think that we start to shift it into our world beyond our quilt world. I don't know. Is that how you it kind of happened for you?
Yeah, I think I did that way. I mean, you could go the other way too. You could be into organic gardening and then go the other way, right? But
come into the quilting, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, I think it's just the way that we are. What's important to us as people in the world trying to make it a better place. I mean, yeah.
Well, and I think it's really important to have that awareness of what our decisions can actually do, right? Like those small decisions that we can make to choose to thrift instead of buying new materials has a big impact, I think, in the long run. Yeah. What I guess I want to talk to you a little bit about that, about how that influences you in your decision making. Like, do you decide that you're not going to buy new materials, or how, if somebody asked you how to get going doing upcycled and thrifted quilting or textiles, what advice would you give to them? How would you recommend they get into that world?
Well, it doesn't cost much money, so it's really easy to do. I would suggest, I mean, what I've seen lately on Instagram anyway is a lot of people just go and buy men's shirts and then decide that you're going to make a quilt that's all plaid, for example.
Okay.
Like plaid, flannel,
sure.
Plaid flannel, and just go to thrift stores in your area and buy that and cut it up into squares and make a quilt. I mean, that would be the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. That's
kind of trying to see what's available for one thing in your thrift stores, but that would be one way to do it. And I mean, that was one of the first things I collected was plaids because it was available.
Right.
Or the other thing, and I know people kind of get creeped out maybe about bed linens,
Sure.
about buying secondhand bed linens, but I mean, you can go through them and you can see that some of them have never been used.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
And I just bring them home and scour them. I use washing soda and I scour them, clean them. And then I can do it.
I mean, when you think about that's how quilts were made. So it's maybe it's somebody else's clothing, but it's still just clothing. It's still fabric.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and when you were talking about the pillowcases, I was thinking about traditionally that we used to use flour sacks. And, was, and the flour sack companies started making them in calico prints because they realized that people were using them for quilts.
Yeah.
So it encouraged people to buy their flour because they'd get the material out of the flour sacks.
That's
afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would be the easiest to do. I mean, you can find, or the other thing you could do would be to buy like 2 sheets or something and make a black and white quilter. I don't know what, know, that kind of thing too. You could do if you wanted to work with bigger pieces. I mean, it is a challenge working with, because you think about when you take a shirt apart, it's all weird shapes. So what are you going to do with it? You have to figure out, are you going to go with the shapes? Or are you going to just have a bunch of scraps? And which is kind of typically the way that I do it. So that, like the one quilt that I'm working on right now is just all little bits and pieces. So you just make crumb blocks and put it together. Yeah.
Describe what a crumb block is.
A crumb block is just taking your scraps and they could be a 2-inch block or any shape, and you just keep adding to it, and then you kind of cut it on a straight line. So then you add another bit of fabric and press it, and then cut on a straight line and keep adding to it. So it's kind of like a random paper piecing, really, without the paper piecing.
Right. So you're just adding a piece on, flip it over.
Yeah.
Press it and then add another piece on.
And add another piece. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't done, I don't live in the quilt world a whole lot. I live in the art free motion embroidery world.
Right.
So the building quilts is a little bit foreign for me, not entirely, because I have done lots of quilting in my past life, earlier years, but not recently. So you're talking about shirts. So how many shirts does it take to make like a queen size quilt? Do you have any idea? I know you have an idea.
If you get an extra large, if you got an extra large men's shirt, it's probably about a meter of fabric.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So like 2 or 3 for a top, is that right?
Oh no, you probably need more than that. Probably 5 or 6 or 7 because of the weird shapes and whatnot. So I think for a queen size, probably about 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you think, you can buy one at the thrift store for $5 or whatever.
Yeah,
right? It's still pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'm starting a quilting class at the library in a couple of, well, it's supposed to be on Thursday night, but we're supposed to have freezing rain. So I don't know if we'll actually make it this week or not. But and a lot of people have donated fabric to me, but I want to encourage the people starting to do thrifting instead and bringing in clothing. And so the second week we'll have them bring in all of the fabric that they've been able to find. And then we can work with it and play with it and figure out what we can put together and what kind of blocks we're going to put together and how we're going to do this. So it's a bit of not a quilt as you go, but it's sort of a design as you go way of learning how to beginner quilt, because I want it to be a little bit more organic and working with the people in the room and what their skill levels are. And I don't know what that is yet because I haven't met them.
Right.
So we'll figure that out once we get together.
And don't be afraid to mix new with old or, or different kind. Like my goal now that I made so many linen quilts, like just linen quilts,
Nice.
is to now add in more other fabrics.
Okay, so here's
Either
another
new
question.
or
Here's another
whatever.
question for you. How do you know that something is linen if it doesn't have a label on it?
Oh, it's pretty easy now. Although the rayon is, yeah, it
Is
linen
it
is
just by the feel of it?
it's a heaviness as well.
Okay.
And now there's more cotton linen, which can be really tricky. Some of it's not very nice to work with.
Okay.
Just it doesn't have that nice feel to it.
Yeah. Like linen's almost
But
got a
yeah,
silkiness to it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have that the weave that you can actually see that's
Yeah, you
in
can
linen.
in the linen you see the sort of the long line that's kind of spun almost, and it's got a little thickness to it almost.
Yeah,
You
and it
see
can be
that,
uneven or
yeah, you
yeah,
see that in the,
yeah.
is it the warp or the weft? I don't know which one it is. But you see that in the lines.
Hmm.
Yeah, and my other way of testing it that when I get it home is I take a little lighter to the corner, and if it burns, it's a natural material, and if it melts, it's not.
Right. Yeah, and I've done that too.
I don't recommend
Yeah.
it. We're not trying to start things on fire, but
The other way
okay
that
for a
I
little
do
corner.
it, the other way that I do it is I iron it, and you can smell
Oh yeah.
polyester when you iron.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
Cotton doesn't have, wool smells like something.
Yeah.
But polyester definitely smells
It's
like,
got a bit of a plasticky kind of smell to it, doesn't it?
yeah.
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 And the linen also wrinkles really, really easily, right?
Yeah.
Much more easily than cotton even.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the first thing I do is when I get something home, I put it in the wash and I dry it just because, linen shrinks quite a bit. So
Right. Oh, okay.
you really want to make sure that you've got it well shrunk before you start making the quilt with it.
I had a pretty good score of linen a couple of weeks ago, or just before Christmas. I went to go and find some stuff to make linen. I wanted to make pillowcases for my kids and for myself. And I found linen curtains. And it was a great find. I was so excited. But there were 4 of them, 4 sets. So they had an inner lining and an outer lining. And there were 4, so 2 full sets. So it meant there were 8 pieces of fabric. And I felt too greedy taking all of them.
Oh no.
I left behind 2 and I took 2. And then the next week I went back. I'm like, no, I got to go back and get them. They were gone. I missed my chance. I felt like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe this. I can't take all of this. Somebody else needs to have these as well. So
I found the best linen one was a queen size sheet set with pillowcases.
Oh my God. I think I would just put that on my bed. I would use it in a quilt. I think I'd just take it home and wash it, put it on my bed. I want to thank you so much for this conversation. It's been really neat. I've really liked kind of talking about, I don't know, just more of the nuts and bolts of quilting, because a lot of the people that I have, the guests that I have, we're talking more about higher level topics around sustainability. And this is much more practical. This feels much more like, here's what you can do.
Yes.
And I like that.
And that's what I want the message to get out is to, it's just to be practical. And I have done some presentations where they, I want to say, okay, when you're looking at the back of a shirt, it's about a fat quarter. So think about that, right? Like just those kinds of things about how you get around that and how you make things just more practical.
Yeah. And it doesn't I've seen some really lovely stuff done where it's obvious that it's shirt sleeves, that they've left the cuffs on, they left the buttons on, or a collar or whatever. And it's a very artistic, free flow piece made so that that you've used it as a shirt. But there's lots of situations where you can pull that out and it doesn't look any different from a regular quilt cotton or a regular piece of linen fabric that you might use. And you can't tell that it has been upcycled from clothing. And I think both have value. I think both are pretty interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things when you think of Liberty of London, right? The shirts that they make, and and now they make quilting fabric. So it's gone. I don't know if that's the way it's gone, but yeah, people buy it now to quilt with. Well,
right.
You can just buy a shirt
yeah, especially
store.
one in a thrift store for a lot less money. And then it's also keeping it out of the waste stream. I mean, that's the other important part. There's an economics behind all of this for sure. But the other important part is that fashion waste stream. It's huge right now. And it's a really large problem that we have. And I think by quilters kind of coming together to be a way of helping with that textile waste and making things into heirloom quilts and quilt projects that we're passing on to our next generations and making art quilts and all of that, I think it's a really great opportunity for us to be part of that change.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I know, like, you just think, what can I do as one person? But that's like, for me, it's like, I want to save every shirt, but I can't. So,
yeah,
it's just doing what you can. And we have free stores at our transfer stations, dumps,
same
whatever.
here, yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, I get a lot of my stuff from there. So, I'm saving it. There's also right next to that are these big bags that they collect the stained and whatnot. Yeah. So the stained clothing and that supposedly goes to the firefighters, but I don't know, I think that goes overseas somewhere.
I had a guest on my podcast in the fall from Malaysia, and she said a lot of the textile waste from North America now, it used to go to China, and after 2018 there was a change. Environmental laws were changed. And so now it gets shipped to Malaysia, which is a much smaller space, a much smaller island. And she said the textile dumps that are there are appalling. Like they're taking up real estate in the country.
Yeah. And what do they do with that? Like, are they supposed to be doing something with it? Like, are they supposed to be making rugs or making
They sell a lot of the clothing in markets over there. So there are markets that sell secondhand clothing there for sure. But then when that can't sell, it pretty much just goes to waste sites.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that whole NIMBYism. Like, we don't know, we don't realize it. It's not in my backyard, it's somewhere else. So we don't realize it, but it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Huge problem. And if we can be part of that solution where textiles aren't heading, at least some of them aren't heading into those waste sites, I think that's a good start.
Yeah. It's just awareness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that, like, there needs to be more done from the textile industry to start seeing some change happening there in terms of that, bringing back in the textiles and reusing them in a way that's meaningful and having them, that circularity, instead of having it going into being waste, having it become something that's useful. I don't think we've quite figured that out yet, but I'm hopeful. There's lots of people out there working on it.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but I wonder what happens to all the quilting cotton that doesn't get used. Like,
I don't know.
I go into a quilt store and I am overwhelmed. Like, I just, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, this can't all sell. So what happens to it? Like, I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, what happens to that?
I don't know either. I mean, I would love to interview a quilt store that has a solution for their remnants and where that goes, what that looks like. And smaller stores, I think they're able to manage that a little bit better, but the bigger stores, I don't know what happens to that stuff. Yeah. And I would hope that it goes somewhere else to be sold at a lower cost and that there's other ways for it to be sold and be used, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Lots of big questions out there, but I think that there are opportunities for us as individuals to start making some changes. You're doing a great job. What you do it's so cool. Like, and it's so great to see what you do as well and see that work that you're doing. It's very inspiring. And you've given me all kinds of ideas here today. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at my stack of materials. How can I use those? And I've got to go into my closet now. And how can I use that?
Well, I'd be interested to see what your students, come up
Yeah.
with, and just, like challenge them to just go out and get one piece. I mean, the other thing that when I started was you got one piece of fabric or a shirt or whatever, and then you got things that coordinated with it,
Yeah, I
right?
can work with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
maybe that's where we'll start. We'll start with one piece of clothing, and then we'll add to that from there. And we're not necessarily doing big quilts. We're working on individual small blocks to try and fit. Most of these are beginner quilters who have never really sewn.
right.
And so we're just going to start simple with a 9 patch and go from there. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
that's the one, that's the great thing about thrifting is it doesn't cost very much money. So if you, make a mistake or mess it up or whatever,
Well, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this through the library as well. This is an outreach for our quilt guild in our local area. And I wanted to do it through the library and make it accessible to everybody in the community because quilting can be a very expensive hobby. And it's not accessible to everybody most of the time. So I'm hoping to find ways to make it more accessible.
Yeah.
And trying to share that idea of what quilting used to be instead of what it kind of became over the last 30 years. And I think we need to shift back to what it used to be.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you've come up with the great, it's not accessible. And I think that's why people are afraid or, timid to get into it because they look at it and go, $25 a meter or how am I supposed to make a quilt?
$500 for a quilt.
For just the material. Yeah.
And when you're making a choice between your rent this month or a quilt, well, clearly you're not choosing a quilt. So it definitely, there are people who are marginalized and not able to access quilting in the same way if we stick with the model we've had. And I think that needs to change.
So. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Go for it.
I'm working on it. Thanks, Sonya. Thanks so much. Say, how can people find you online and follow what you're doing?
I'm on Instagram, only on Instagram. It's just Sonya, Sonya.Oblak, Oblak.
Awesome. Well, and I'll put a link into the show notes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for this. It's been a really great conversation.
Thanks for taking an interest and let's start changing the quilting world.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Wasn't that a fantastic conversation? I just love that we're coming away from that with some practical steps towards thrifting and inspiration for creativity and doing some improv quilting and scrap quilting. She just was so generous with sharing how she works. And I really appreciate that from Sonya and being able to have that kind of inspiration to be able to work on our quilt projects. I'm really excited by what's going on in the quilt world and the textile world right now around sustainability. I don't know if you saw it, but the Festival of Quilts just announced that there is a sustainability category going to be in their show for 2023, which is really exciting. And there's also the Canadian Quilters Association has their national juried show this year, and they have an award of excellence in theirs for sustainability. And it's really exciting to me that these large shows are really starting to embrace sustainability as a core concept for quilting. I think it's getting us back to some of the traditions that quilting began with and moving us away from the fast fashion and the buying cycles of consumerism. As much as I love a great new pattern, I think that or a new design that's coming out, new designer fabrics, I think that we need to check that a little bit and maybe reuse a little bit more of what we have in the world first. Anyway, that's just a little philosophical note from me. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message on Instagram, send me an email, and just let me know that how you feel about the show. and it will help me to keep bringing you some interesting guests. I've got some more interesting stuff coming up in the next little while, where I am going to be talking with Zach Foster. I'm going to be talking with the Global Organic Textile Standard to find out more about their process. And I'm talking with a few fiber growers and natural dyers. So there's some really interesting stuff coming up. I hope you keep listening. If you're interested in a community that engages with sustainability in quilting and textiles, you can join the Learning Hub at BridgetO'Flaherty.com. There you will find memberships, online courses, supplies, and resources for sustainability and my textile art. You can also book me to speak with or teach your group. You can find me on social media at The Sustainable Quilter. Don't forget to comment, like, and share, and to follow me on your favorite podcast app so you won't miss an episode. Thanks for joining me, and I'm so excited to share this journey with you. Until next time, happy stitching.